So is what I'm seeing as of right now, would that be something that I would consider to be a major concern? The reason being is because a lot of people are kind of worried that the chief financial officer, Hiroshi Harada, he keeps posting about Remix Point, something that he recently joined, and they seem to think that it's distracting from what he's doing in regard to Jasmy and as well as Jangshin. But I'm not necessarily concerned by that, and I'll explain why in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice and I am not telling anyone to do anything. But at the same time, I get the concerns though, because Hiroshi Harada, he keeps posting about Remix Point, and we don't really see him posting much about Jasmy or pretty much Jangshin as of late. We just don't really see it, which again got a lot of people kind of concerned. But we have to consider as well, when it comes to Jasmy, their team isn't only Hiroshi Harada. There is other people there. As a matter of fact, I've seen quite a lot of people at the Jasmy team who have had work experience at places like Sony. So we gotta let that sink in. It's not like Jasmy's just being run solo. Hiroshi Harada doesn't run this by himself, right? He's not a solo, team like that where he's just managing everything, himself, basically. That's not the case. So if I see maybe the CFO of Jasmy being a little bit distracted, it doesn't necessarily concern me because Jasmy doesn't quite essentially really need him if we take a look at it from a broader, I guess, perspective, because it operates in a sense where it's not reliant on just one individual. If it's only reliant on him, then that's kind of bad, right? So it's not a bad thing that I see that the chief financial officer of Civic is actually joining something else. Now, he didn't leave Jasmy. Let's just clarify that real quick. Like, he's still the chief financial officer of Jasmy. He's still the CEO of Jangshin. So that didn't change. All he's doing is taking up another role in a place called Remix Point. Remix Point, like I mentioned in my previous video, just to give kind of a background story, it's a publicly listed company in Japan. So again, publicly listed, it's really massive. And historically, we saw that Remix Point, they did found, right? They are the founder of something called BitPoint. BitPoint is one of the most massive exchanges out there in Japan. Now, they've already sold off BitPoint, by the way. They sold it to something called SBI Holdings when it comes to Remix Point. But let's take also this into consideration. BitPoint currently does list Jasmy. So if we take a look at that right there, it just kind of makes sense, right? Remix Point, they are the founders of something called BitPoint, and then BitPoint does list Jasmy. So it just kind of makes sense that, like in the case of Hiroshi Harada joining Remix Point, it just kind of makes sense, in my opinion. And it's not so bad. Okay, sure, now he has 3 roles, basically, like the CFO of Jasmy, the CEO of Jangshin, and now a team member at Remix Point. I get that. But it's not necessarily concerning for me. If anything, I think it actually helps Jasmy greatly because now he can actually talk to the people at Remix Point about Jasmy. He can talk to the actual individuals that can move the needle, right? The needle movers. In a sense where some of these top executives, maybe they haven't really heard too much about Jasmy. Now Hiroshi Harada has a chance to tell them all about Jasmy or maybe all about Jangshin. Who knows? This is all a hypothetical possibility. So if anything, it only increases the opportunities for Hiroshi Harada, and in a sense, it does affect Jasmy and as well as Jangshin by trickling down like that. So it's not really concerning for me. Now, if let's say Hiroshi Harada did leave Jasmy, or maybe even Jangshin as well, I would say that there could only be one drawback though, which is Hiroshi Harada is the most vocal person on their team, right? So if he were to leave Jasmy and Jangshin, it wouldn't necessarily make the project obsolete, or the projects, I should say, plural. It wouldn't make them obsolete. But what it would do is remove the kind of voice in terms of social media and stuff like that, because Hiroshi Harada is just the most well-known figure in the Jasmy team, right? I mean, no one else from Jasmy is really posting that much, at least from what I can see. It's just pretty much Hiroshi Harada and that's it. And he doesn't even really update much to begin with. But it doesn't really annoy me because there just simply isn't too much going on when it comes to Jasmy as of right now. I mean, he was pretty vocal when they launched the Jasmy chain and stuff like that, and also when Jangshin was first announced. I mean, he did talk about it then, and also when Jangshin won some awards by Sony, and also it won like a award from Google like that. So when that happened, he did talk about it, but if there's really nothing to talk about, what can you really talk about, right? So it's not concerning for me. And again, I get it. If Hiroshi Hirata were to leave Jasmy or Jangshin, it would kind of remove the voice that they have in terms of social media. But my thing is this, even if he did leave, can't they just hire someone else to fill his position? You know what I mean? Right? So it's not a big concern for me anyways. If he leaves, just hire someone else. But I don't think he's leaving because he said he wasn't going to leave. But I'm just saying, in a pure random hypothetical, as a worst case scenario, so to speak, even if he did leave, so be it. They'll find someone else. But again, that's just a hypothetical scenario that I have on my mind. But nonetheless, by Hiroshi Hirata joining Remix Point, it could only help Jasmy, I think, moving forward, and by extension, also something like Jangshin, which is an incubation project under Jasmy that's really focused on AI. But Jasmy, of course, is focused on data storage. So it kind of goes hand in hand, in my opinion. Jasmy is that project that's kind of been through the market downturns, that's kind of been there for quite a while. It's focused on data storage. Jangshin is kind of that new up-and-coming project that's focused on AI. But nonetheless, Jangshin is an incubation project under Jasmy. So if anything, it's only going to help Jasmy, I think, moving forward, and vice versa. So I don't think it's a bad thing. But nonetheless, when I take a look at Jasmy as of right now, I get it. It's easy to point and say that this is doing really bad. But at the same time, we have to consider that behind the scenes, they're still doing their thing. It's not fundamentally broken in a sense where Jasmy is still literally focused on data storage. That concept hasn't disappeared. People like to say, oh, Jasmy, it's really cooked and all this, but we have to consider its most famous competitor is something called Filecoin. Filecoin is not going on an independent rally of its own while Jasmy's just staying down here. That's not the case. Filecoin is also not doing good whatsoever, much like Jasmy. So sometimes people always say, oh, Jasmy's doing so bad. But why don't they compare it to its closest competitor, which is called Filecoin? Filecoin is literally not looking good either. So it's not like it's just a situation that is unique to Jasmy. That is not the case. Now, oftentimes people like to tell me, well, okay, sure, slightly over a year ago, Jasmy was around 6 cents. As of right now, it's around half a cent. They like to tell me that maybe if, let's say, Jasmy goes back to around 6 cents, they like to say, why does that even matter, despite currently Jasmy being over 10 times lower than that? Well, the thing is, again, we're over 10 times lower than that, so why would it not matter if it returned back to that? Now, people can have a rebuttal. They can respond by saying, in some hypothetical cases, well, what happens if the average cost is around 6 cents? So if it just goes back there, that's not doing anything. That's just like the break-even point. Who cares? Well, I understand that. Assuming, let's say, I never dollar cost average at these low levels, yeah, sure. If Jasmy returns back to around 6 cents, it's just breaking even, right? But because I am still constantly dollar cost averaging, what I'm doing is that since I am, again, dollar cost averaging around once a month, what happens is I am slowly but surely lowering down my average cost. In a sense where now, if let's say my average goes down to like 2 cents or something like that, or 1 cent or 1.5 cents, if let's just say we assume my average cost is 2 cents as of right now, if it goes back to 6 cents, now 6 cents is around 3 times higher than 2 cents. So that's the thing. By me hypothetically dollar cost averaging at low moments, it kind of lowered down the average cost. So now if it goes back to 6 cents, it's no longer breaking even. Now it's a hypothetical appreciation. That's the thing. So that is just kind of the way I think about Jasmy currently. But this is, again, just my opinion. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But long story short, I'm not annoyed with Hiroshi Hirata constantly posting about Remix Point. A lot of people think he's distracted. But I just don't think about it that way. I mean, I think if anything, he's still committed to Jasmy. He's still committed to Jangshin. What's wrong about taking another venture? It doesn't concern me. But this is just my personal perspective, and I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day.